So part two, I was getting into the Bible, I was listening to Christian radio, I stopped the cussing, the smoking, the drinking, everything. I just knocked it all off and spent just hours every day just consumed in the Bible or listening to radio preachers or whatever. Anything to get a grasp of what I was doing. And then one day a Christian missionary organization, well, it wasn't just one day, they came in, they started doing all these advertisements on the radio about how they were having a revival is what they called it, and a circus type tent, and doing all the crazy songs and the dancing and jumping up and down and shouting hallelujah. And you know, the funny thing was, it was 3 months before I gave my life to the Lord, or before, I can't remember now. I was not a Christian at the time, so it must have been before I gave my life to the Lord. I had this dream. I've always had dreams of the future, and this dream was of me standing underneath this tent with a bunch of other people. All these people are shouting hallelujah, and I was still in my unsaved, unnatural mind, and I couldn't quite figure out what they were doing. And then I realized what they were doing was a fun thing. So then by the end of it, anyway, deja vu, I went to one of those meetings, and it suddenly dawned on me in this meeting that my dream was exactly what was going on in that meeting, and I ended up doing exactly. Oh yeah, I got into it. I don't care. If I'm going to believe that there's a God and there is a heaven and hell, I'm going to get excited about it. So, you know, I mean, there are lost souls, and I know there's plenty of it on KCL. People don't believe, or, you know, why did all these bad things happen? I can't answer that. Only God can do that. So, what can I say? I'm not sitting here saying I got answers for everything. I don't. God has those answers, and people have to seek them for yourself. If you don't want to do that, then I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way it goes. So anyway, I started going to these meetings every day, and the preacher, evangelist, real charismatic guy, never heard of him before, but then again, I didn't hear of half of them anyway, and he started talking to me during these meetings, saying, when are you going to leave? When are you going to get up and go serve the Lord with your whole life on the mission field and forsake all and blah, blah, blah? And I thought, well, I don't have much to forsake, a $4.50 an hour job, and I had some belongings, you know, some things, but nothing I couldn't give up. I started seriously thinking about it because I hadn't gone to college, and I was already 20 years old, and my life was going downhill. I thought, why not? So I did. They left town before I could get everything dealt with. I flew into Las Vegas. That's where they had moved their tent to. It was right next to the main strip. And we spent 3 months there. It was the most hellish 3 months of my life. And the only thing that kept me there was my dad told me, he said, when you make a commitment like that, or no, when you go to do something like that, make a commitment to yourself, not to anyone else, just to yourself, that you're going to stick it out for at least a year and see what happens. And it turned out to be the best advice I'd ever gotten or followed in my life, because I did not want to stay. The conditions were hellish. It was far worse than me living in a house with my middle brother at the time, working for $4.50 an hour. So, I mean, I guess I could go into a little bit. Everything was done on semi-trucks. This is where I learned how to drive semis, was back in this ministry. Everything, you know, including the kitchen, was actually a transformed semi-truck. But this kitchen didn't have a roof on it. And it was blowing wind all the time up there in Las Vegas, and dirt and sand would get into the food, and it was ridiculous. And the food we were eating was garbage. You know, it was just I can't say it was a bad experience, because I kind of likened it to boot camp. I thought I made it through that, and things got really better after that. We left Las Vegas, and we went back to their main compound in El Paso, Texas, and then, as I said, things changed dramatically, and I started appreciating what I was doing there and why I was doing it there. You know, missionary life is not an easy life. I don't care what ministry you're in. You're going to work. And I was doing anywhere from 12 to 18 hour days, 7 days a week, and I did that for 5 years straight. with maybe a couple of days off. So I could do that in my 20s. I wouldn't even claim to do that now. I wouldn't want to. But, you know, I expended my youth for the Lord, and I certainly have no regrets. There was some aspects to that particular ministry that weren't good. The leadership was involved in some things, but my heart was pure before the Lord, I thought. And I was eventually ended up going into Mexico all the time and taking food and doing things like that. I was supposed to get sent overseas, but they never sent me over because I was too good of a mechanic and stuff for them. So anyway, what happened? We started getting disgruntled. I got married and we started getting disgruntled with the ministry. But that isn't what really set us out. What happened was we were here in Tempe with, they were having an outreach up in Sedona, Arizona, Red Rock they call it, and my ex-wife was in an RRV that had been donated to us so that we could have a place to live while we were on the road together, and the guy that was driving it didn't quite understand Arizona lights and pulled out in front of an oncoming Ford Bronco, and that thing was going 50 miles an hour, and that was all over. She was in the hospital for weeks, in a nursing home for months after that, and it was a big ordeal. We quit the ministry. We got involved in a church, and then I started taking groups of people to Mexico from the church, and I did children's ministry, and then I started doing the teen ministry plus worship. I was involved in every aspect of the church. I had all kinds of friends, blah 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 blah. Fast forward 10 years, we're getting divorced. The church is shunning me because we're getting divorced, and in this church, regardless of what's happening, the male is always at fault. So even if your wife, I'm not going to go into it. It just isn't worth it. I've gone into it too many times, and I don't like it because it just gets me very upset. So I left that church. I got divorced, and blah blah blah. Life changed dramatically, both for good and bad. And here I am. I decided that if I was not going to do ministry, I was going to do what I could do, and I got back into trucking, because trucking can pay a lot of money, at least for my standards. I'm not picky. If I have enough money to live off of, I don't really care about anything else. But so yeah, I got back into trucking. I went from one job to the other. I just kept moving up. Every 6 months I'd go look for a new job, get paid more money, and then I got to the place I'm at now, and here I am. Will I ever be in ministry again? I am to some extent now. It's nothing like it used to be, but I do involve myself formally through a church. I couldn't possibly tell you that. I could not. Right now I have no desire, but so I pretty much just go to work and come home. And even if I had all kinds of money and blah blah blah, I probably would still just go to work and come home. I just have no desire in life right now to. I get out here and there. I'm not saying I don't ever get out, but it certainly isn't anything like the socialite I used to be. And I don't really miss it. Some aspects I do, but you know, when you get down to the bottom of it in life, you really only have a few very close friends, and everybody else. It's hard to put this without sounding offensive, but a lot of people that say your friends are not your friends when it comes down to where the rubber meets the road. And so I'm kind of not really trusting in that area either. I trust strangers as much as I trust people I know, just because I don't trust that much. So that's me, and that's the end of part 2, and I'm at home, so I'm gonna go have myself a nice cold cup of water. Thanks, bye.